everybody, welcome back to another episode of Gentle Dorks. And as you can see, I'm not alone, which is strange for me. I'm joined by Chris from Extemporary Art and Red and Yellow Make Ginger. Chris, welcome back.
Yeah, great to be here. We've been nerding out on the Facebook page, so it's great to be back.
Yep. So I think what we'll just do is we'll jump straight in because as an artist, I thought this would be quite a good thing because it's nerdy, it's dorky, it's comics, but the art style as well. And I thought, this will be great to get contrasting experiences because you'll look at things differently as the way I would look at them. So
yeah,
we're going to be talking about Frank Miller's Sin City, both the graphic novels and the movies. So I'll come to you and say, did you enjoy the movies more than the comics, or did you enjoy the comics more than the movies?
I think it's one of those adaptations that is kind of equal, but I did enjoy the second movie more than the first one, I have to say. But having reread Dame the Kill, I'm trying to figure out where is it Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character?
Yeah, that was actually just created for the film. They couldn't think of other things from the graphic novels to put in round about that story that wouldn't take too much away from it. It was just a nice side story that could round it off. It was the same way Nancy's Last Dance as well. That was created for it. It's just something to help.
There was enough
the secondary stories.
Yeah, those changes I think were the early changes that I've seen in adaptations that actually worked. I think.
Yeah,
You had Frank Miller as a producer on the set of both films, I believe.
Yes, it was.
And so his input would have been there, and you can see that he had a lot of art input, and I think if you didn't have him on set, it would have been a completely different project, I think.
Yeah, I mean, what Robert Rodriguez done was he got seeing the first one, the Josh Hartnett bit, right at the beginning, where he kills the woman on the rooftop. Yep. He filmed that and then took it to Frank Miller and said, look, this is what I want to do. I want to do Sin City as a movie. This is how I'll do it. It's in your style. And after Frank Miller saw that, he's like, okay, that's actually really good, because he wasn't wanting to do any films or that. But from the success of the first one, we got the second one, which didn't do as well.
Even though I think the story is driven better, personally, with that change that happened.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the second film as well. I was surprised that it didn't do as well as the first one. I mean, with the Dame to Kill for story is one of the most gripping stories of the entire Sin City stories, in my opinion.
If you break it down, they are like movies, because there's, from an art point of view, there's points where he's drawn things just to drive the story forward.
Yeah.
And as an artist, I'd be like, that's really tedious to have to draw the train, draw the person walking out, draw the camera getting closer, even. All those things, and it is like a movie. And we were talking before this, I can't think of a graphic novel that uses that inner monologue quite in the same way that Sin City does.
Yeah,
we can have comments saying, Spider-Man uses it, but not
to the extent. I mean, 90% of the film is all inner monologue. There's very little actual dialogue between characters. It's only when it's essential to the story. And even throughout the dialogue, you still get the inner monologue running through in the background.
And the comic is the same.
There's
some dialogue going on, but the inner monologue is very much a story device, and it is driving it forward. And every character, not even the one that started with Marv, all the characters seem to have that inner monologue. As far as what I was saying, I've had them since I was a teenager, and I've not got through all of them. I'll read them after this podcast, and then we'll do a part two.
As I said before we came on, this is actually a reschedule. We were supposed to do this before April, actually, but I came down with a really bad illness, and during that time, I actually managed to read. I think I had only read like the first 4, so I had the last 3 to read, and I managed to get through them during all this illness, and managed to watch both films again. And the style and the storytelling did not change through the entire graphic novels, which I've seen happen with other comics that start off with like a similar style, and then they pan off and they change and it goes in a completely different direction. With this, Frank Miller just kept it like that. He's like, this is how I'm doing this. The art style stays the same. The colour style stays the same.
The only thing that I did think changed was the cover design changed, like because 6 and 7 are white, and for me, from like a aesthetic on your shelf point of view, that's like, oh, I quite like the way it was going.
I know that is annoying when that happens, and it's like, oh, I've got that. Thanks.
I've just been picky, really, but yeah.
Well, we're allowed to be. We're fans. It's what we do.
Exactly.
But
they do that to my artwork too. Be picky. It's part of the course.
Yeah, with the first film, like every single story was essentially just taking off the comic and put onto screen. It was essentially a shot-for-shot remake. There was like changes here and there, tiny changes, like colour changes for the film, because the colours that were in the comic wouldn't really work. And the way they changed things, it didn't change the story. Whereas if they had to change those things in the comics, do you think that would have changed the story? Because everything that he drew was there for a reason. The way he done it, the colour he did, the way he drew a character.
Yeah, well, like I was saying, with every shot, as if it's a movie, it's all for a reason, that story. And I think it's the first book where he's done a really realistic rendition of the Old Town protectors, and so he did show a different style just for kicks, just as like a little bit of for the fans, I guess, rather than, but not as part of the story. So yeah, I don't think it would have changed the story if the dialogue was the same.
Yeah,
but I think the dialogue is the real driver. However, it wouldn't be the Sin City that we remember if the art style changed. And you look at it and it looks as if it's black stripes and white, and it's very complicated. But then when you see the white over the black, it's like, okay, he has drawn it as normal, but it looks like a silhouette cutout in a way, and some bits are more complicated than others depending on, I guess, how into that scene he was. Some scenes I can imagine, like of rereading Dame the Kill, and the door starts and it gets a bit closer, and it gets into an overhead shot of the swimming pool and a bit closer. It's like, that's a lot of work just to get your point across.
I know, and it's like 6 or 7 pages just of that.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, as you're reading that, it's like there's no dialogue, you're just looking, and it's like, where's this going?
Well, he's showing a slow motion scene in a graphic novel.
Yeah. And
so then going through the window, the glass breaks a little bit more.
Yeah. And it goes to show that the actual attention to detail that he puts into his artwork is actually astonishing. I've heard people say there's not much to it, it's all black and white. When there is colour, it's here and there. That's the point.
Yeah. When you see the perspective and the overhead shots, and it makes you wonder, does he use a reference, or is it all out of his head, or does he use, I don't know, like little figurines to figure it out?
I know.
Because me in perspective, like, I can try and create a whole world like that is impressive. And occasionally there's little bits where I go, okay, he may have done that out of his head because the leg doesn't look quite right, but it doesn't matter because the story is driven. And I feel like he's probably hasn't really grown up. He's probably like that teenager who's just like got his story in his head and he's drawing it really quickly and just driving the story forward and going, right, we need that action. So imagine it's more about the feel of it than it is about the artwork. However, there are some amazing, like really technical drawings in there as well.
Another thing about it is the sheer brutality of the action scenes. Now, in the films, obviously, you see the entirety of it.
Yeah.
But in the graphic novels, I think that's actually more brutal, but not seeing some bits of it.
Yeah, and you have more of the emotion building up to it. I mean, especially with the two cops, and it's fresh in my mind. I reread it.
Yeah.
David kill, and then he kills his friend, and then he ends up killing himself, and it's like that felt more powerful in the graphic novel. And I haven't watched the films for about a year now, so
Yeah.
So I did rewatch them recently, but so that's why I hadn't rewatched them now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't remember if that scene's in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you rewatched them, didn't you?
Yeah,
recently?
yeah. That scene is, and it's like in the drive up, it's like, and the whole dialogue is the exact same. It's again shot for shot remake. They've took it off. It's like, right, what do we do here? Right, we move them from there to there, and they just shoot that bit. It's like, right, we've got to here. Where do we go now? Because Robert Rodriguez is a big comic book fan, as we know, and his style of working has been influenced by like comic book, not like the mainstream comics, but it's the independent stuff.
Well, that's where Planet Terror came into it.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah. And with that scene with them driving, and it's like with the film, they use the music and the thunder and lightning, and you can just feel the build up. But when you're reading it, it's just there's something different. It's like the way you feel it. It's like
it's
you know something's coming,
driven,
and it's
the shot with Elijah Wood with the sledgehammer is shot by shot, like you say, and it just makes you realize how much of a film the comic is, because every shot is as if there's a camera there, as if it's really well produced and thought about. And
I said this in a previous video that there's very few comic book adaptations that are like essentially shot for shot remake of the graphic novel. There's this, and I'd probably say Watchmen are the only two. And again, the art style for Watchmen is different enough from like mainstream comics to like completely stand out. And it's just, I think picking those two to be films and then doing it shot for shot is essentially the greatest idea for adaptations ever through comic books.
Well, we're talking about Last of Us, which isn't a comic book, but it was shot by shot, apart from the changes they decided to make. There were a few shots that should have been longer in the TV series and held on to it longer, because in the game you can look around. So there has been adaptations that have, shot by shot and looked at that.
Yeah.
But there's not really been many that have had the same impact in terms of, because with games you can look around, with comics you can stop on the page for longer.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the difference, actually, is that just thinking about it now, comparing the two, movies bring you along, they're setting the pace.
Yeah.
Whereas comics and video games, you can stop and look around a bit.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Wait on the page a bit.
Yeah. I think that's what makes the Sin City graphic novels better than the movies. I mean, I'm not belittling the movies. I love watching them. I'll probably watch them again in a couple of weeks.
Probably need a third one.
But like you said, you can take your time with the comics. You can pace it how you want to. Like with video games as well, you can pace how you go.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that until having this conversation.
Yeah. And I think that helps as well drive a story.
Yeah.
Because
when something really like significant happens, you can hold it for a bit and just be in the shock.
Yeah. Whereas with the film, it's like, there you go, and then this bit, and then that's happening. And you can pause it, but
and the director can hold it, but is it going to be long enough, or is it going to be too long? So they are setting the pace for you. That's the difference, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think the only thing in cinematic history that I think was held for just the perfect amount of time was the Mexican standoff. and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. That entire scene.
That's on my list to watch. I've
Oh,
got through a lot of classics, but I haven't quite got around. I went through a period of time where I just got fed up with westerns and things, but
there is a lot of them. There is.
That's one that I should have watched.
Yeah. I won't spoil what happens, but that scene is like one of the most iconic scenes, and just the way they directed it, you can tell that a lot of different directors have been influenced by Sergio Leone. Especially Robert Rodriguez. He is completely obsessed, and you can tell with some of his other things that he's been completely influenced by this person. He's like, this is who I want to be. This is who I aspire to be like. I want my movies to go down in history like his have.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if you're going to go for somebody, go for a legend, I suppose.
Yeah, it's nice seeing people's influences affect their work, but then make it their own and change things. And
yeah,
so yeah, I'll be watching that movie tonight now if I can find it.
Yeah,
sure it's somewhere.
And he's went down the Western route as well, really, with Once Upon a Time in Mexico. That was essentially him saying, "I'm doing a Western." He done the Desperado as well, and
I think again with that one.
That's Antonio Banderas.
Yes.
Yeah, and they're just, I mean, the whole trilogy, so El Mariachi, Desperado, and Once Upon a Time in Mexico. I don't think Robert Rodriguez had too much say over what happened in Once Upon a Time in Mexico, because there was a lot of studio influence, and after he done that, he's like, right, I'm gone. I'm not working with you again. And I have my thoughts on studio influence.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those directors and writers that really does his own thing.
Like, yeah.
I mean, even going back to Spy Kids, he did his own thing, really. And then you can see how that's kind of influenced Terror in that. The way it's Signature style, even in the adult stuff, and Sin City, of course. So it's weird how you can see that little sort of echo of that, even with two completely different age ranges.
Yeah. And I think with him, I think he was the perfect director.
Oh yeah, I can't think of anyone else who would have done it.
I mean, I know he got Quentin Tarantino in to like
do that
help
one car scene, I think.
Yeah, and I was wondering what scene it was because there wasn't any feet. And I was like, right, let's see if we can find what scene Quentin Tarantino was involved in. Can you see a pair of feet? Nah, there was no feet. I don't know what scene it was.
Or do you see the bonnet go up and then looking up? So yeah, there's none of that going on. But
yeah,
I'm sure I saw it behind the scenes with that scene being filmed. I can't remember where I saw it, whether it's on the DVD or whether it was somewhere else. But I have a feeling it's one of the car chase scenes, I think.
Yeah, I think it's when they're the police are chasing the Benicio del Toro's car. I think it's when they're doing that. And it's just that whole scene. And Quentin Tarantino said, I don't really want any, don't put my name on it. He done it anyway.
Yeah.
Is that no, I'm just helping. I'm just coming in as a technical advisor. I'm not anything, you don't put my name on it. No, I'm putting your name on it. No,
yes,
director. Is that, look, it's done. Fine. But it's like when you get these like different style of directors working together, it just blends so well like that, especially with, I mean, Quentin Tarantino has a style. As soon as you see a clip of any of his films, that's one of his films. Again, Robert Rodriguez, you see any of his films and the different styles he uses. It's not just like one type of style. Like Quentin Tarantino uses the same style for every film because he knows that's what works for his stories. Whereas Robert Rodriguez, he'll go, I want to do this style, I want to do that. And everything that he's done has been perfection for him. It just works. And it got me thinking, if the films hadn't been made and they were trying to get them made now, and Robert Rodriguez wasn't interested, who do you think would be a good director to take Sin City to the screen?
That's a really big question. I can't think of anyone else, and yeah, because he was a perfect director for it, and I mean you'd have to have Frank Miller on board, so it'd be interesting to see how much input Frank Miller had. But I think he was like a creative art director on the set, so I'm just trying to think who would be a good pairing for that. Actually, maybe Edgar Wright, maybe the Cornetto trilogy and Baby Driver, because he has enough of a quirky kind of, Baby Driver was a little bit off there, but I think on his own, maybe not. With Frank Miller alongside, maybe.
Yeah, I didn't actually think of him, to be honest.
Who do you gone for? Because that's literally the only name I could think, but because Robert was, the only, he was made for the job.
Yeah, the only person I could have thought of was Frank Miller or Zack Snyder.
Maybe, although Zack Snyder's had some success and some
yeah.
Yeah,
but it's just the way that he takes his stories and he puts them onto the screen. Because just with the success that he had with Watchmen, taking that and then putting it completely on screen as is there.
And his art style is quite quirky in a sense. So
yeah, and it's like he took Watchmen and put it onto the screen as is. And the way Sin City would need to be is you just take it and put it on, and because he's done that,
because
I think he'd be good.
He did Sucker Punch as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did Sucker Punch.
The story is a little bit questionable, but I can see what they're trying to do, and the art style's fantastic in that. So
yeah. I mean that's the thing as well. With anything Zack Snyder does, it's all about the visuals. And like some of the stuff, the story's not quite there. You can see where they're wanting it to be, like with Sucker Punch. I mean, visually, it's a spectacular film.
Yeah, I enjoy watching it from time to time just for the cinematics.
Yeah, but as the story, it's like it doesn't sort of engage you.
It doesn't really translate in the way they were intending, I think.
Yeah. I think if he had more time and less studio interference, he could have probably made it a bit better. But the whole thing about it was the visuals.
Yeah.
Which I thought was, if he had to take Sin City visually, keep it that same art style, it would have been, a completely different film, but it would be the same film.
Yeah, and the soundtrack in Sucker Punch is very good as well, if I remember.
Yeah, it's probably one of the best things about it.
Yes. So the music might have changed as well and been.
Yeah.
So I suppose either one of those two alternative directors would have been a different Sin City, but their own art style.
Yeah.
In a way, I wish more films would be remade by different directors, but completely remade, not just sort of a rehash of it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Because A Dame to Kill For never done as well, they sold the rights, and now I think it's Legendary Pictures have the rights to doing a TV series of original stories set in Sin City.
Original stories. They need to at least do do Frank Miller's stories first, and then branch out afterwards.
It's like when I read that, I was like, that worries me. Because even though they had the original stories throughout A Dame to Kill For, with Nancy's Last Dance and the Joseph Gordon-Levitt stuff, I mean, that they were really good. But they had Frank Miller's input for them.
Yes, and they had the backstory of the main original story in there.
Yeah.
And Frank Miller was approving the extra changes, I assume.
Yeah, so if they do have to do the series and it is original stories, are they going to get Frank Miller back in? And is he going to sign off on them? Does he need to sign off on them as well?
Yes.
How much is he going to be involved? I mean, this is essentially his bread and butter. He made this. Is the continuation of this series going to sully the legacy that is Sin City?
And I suppose with any artist, once they're gone from this planet, like where does the rights go as well?
Yeah.
Is someone going to completely crash their vision? Because I think a lot of them have like co-artists and colleagues and various people who are younger, who are there, and it does make you wonder about the legacy afterwards. Sometimes, I mean, thankfully, touch wood, Frank Miller is still around, and I'm hoping, like you say, while he is, he can sign it off and can have it work. Because as a fan, it does worry you what will be next in the future, and I mean, it's not really going to affect us really when it's out.
No.
But at the same time, you do get like that's the world we knew, and now it's changed.
Yeah. Well, it's like when they done the Watchmen series.
I didn't get around to the series. I watched the film.
I've watched the series and I enjoyed it. It's set roughly round about now, so enough time has passed for all the characters that were there to be gone, essentially. There's like one or two that are still around, but I thought that the story there, it didn't. It took what they done, and that happened. It's not like what they do sometimes. Like, oh no, that didn't happen. This is just set in a parallel universe where that didn't happen. But no, it's like all that stuff happened, and they're here now, and it's just the continuation. Like nowadays, and it didn't do as well as what they thought it was going to be. Alan Moore came out and said, no, it was trash. I didn't even like the film. Even though the film was a shot-for-shot remake of it. He's like, I didn't like it. I didn't want it. So, but he's clearly signed off on it. So it's like...
Interesting.
but again, it's his work. He can say what he wishes.
It makes you wonder whether he signed off on it in the pre-production.
Yeah, I know.
And then that's not what I thought you were going for.
I know. But, I mean, we all know that Alan Moore is, a character.
Yeah, because I was trying to figure out it, because I can't remember what film my friend was in now, but yeah, there's an Alan Moore film that came out, and I was like, is that the same Alan Moore that wrote The Watchmen, or was that completely different? I might have to just quickly look that film up. And keep talking while I look that up.
Yeah, and it's like, I thought that the series helped. It didn't like hinder the story from the past. It didn't take away anything from it. It added to it a bit, but it wasn't as successful as they wanted. They don't need his sign off if they are going to do a second series. There's still talk about it. It's still like, oh, should we not?
Yeah, so that film was The Show directed by Mitch Jenkins, and it's completely bizarre. Loads of characters and things. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out, is that the same Alan Moore who wrote it as the person who wrote Watchmen? And I think, did Alan Moore also do V for Vendetta as well? Or was that?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to figure out if it is the same Alan Moore or someone different. But yeah, like you say, quite a character if it is the same.
Yeah.
I think it is the same one, but yeah, two different art styles. It confuses me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that if they do continue Sin City, I hope that they do get the sign off from Frank Miller and that he has at least some input with the stories. Because I think if they do that, then it should be fairly successful. There is the fan base there. It's like one of these ones. It's like it didn't do well as a comic when they were coming out, but it sort of gained traction, and then it was like the late 90s, early 2000s, and like it just exploded, and then that's when they're like, we need to make a movie of this. So it's like we can only hope and pray that it is a success if they do it. They're still talking about it. It's been since 2019 that they've been talking about it.
I suppose there has been some issues with things closing down. So hopefully the funding is still there. And like you say, Frank Miller needs to just say, that is part of Sin City's world, or no, that would never happen, or there needs to be some input, because I'm assuming he knows it inside out. It's in his brain. It's in. He lives Sin City.
Yeah.
He knows the streets.
He does. He's probably lived on them for a long time. Well, it's been great talking to you about Sin City.
Yeah, it's always great to nerd out.
It is, yeah. I'll be coming up with lots of different stuff, and I'll reach out if I think, this is something that Chris and me can talk about for like 3 days, but we only have that much of a window.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking about doing something about Metal Gear Solid.
I played the first 2.
Because there's talk of a film of that as well.
Oh, I have played a bit of Snake Eater actually, but I prefer the old ones.
Yeah, so, yeah. But
it might mean like with Sin City trying to read those, I might have to go back and play the games and do some research.
Yeah, and there's this Fallout series as well that's coming out soon.
Fallout, I didn't get on too well with. I got lost in the sewers with the zombies, and it wouldn't let me out. It kept reloading to the zombies again. I'm stuck. I've got to restart a whole new game, and it's taken me 4 hours to walk across the map to get to that point. So
I've had to
find someone else to Fallout.
You just rage quit it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, it's been great talking to you, and I'll be in touch. And
yes, thanks for having me.
Not a problem, anytime. And good luck with your channel. If you want to give it a plug while you're here, that's why we're here.
Yeah, so the Red and Yellow Mate Ginger is a artist-led podcast. So I'm an artist. I talk to other artists about the creative mindset and putting content out there, and the challenges we have when putting our work out into the world, and just getting to meet those other creatives. And the channel's doing really well. We started the first episode around February, and it's at the time of filming this, it's April, and we've already got over 1,000 subscribers now. So fantastic. We're just trying to get the watch time up, and the view time is up and down, but people seem to be really enjoying it. So just if you are watching, want a few more comments, but otherwise, it's doing really well, and it's a lot of fun, and it just means I get to talk to loads of different artists, which has been brilliant. And being part of the Ginger Network means I get to do things like this. So
yep, that's why you're here. Well, on that note, we will leave you to discuss Sin City. And again, if you have anything to say, let us know. Comments are open.
Let's continue this conversation.
Yep, cool. Well, thanks a lot, and see you later.